Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Woohoo! Hello, Rhonda.
Oh my gosh. And hello, David. And hello to all of our listeners around the world. This is the Feeling Good podcast, episode 347. This is actually the third part of the personal work that you and Jill did with Veena from the Tuesday group. And today we're going to hear Veena going through relapse prevention. And I've heard you talk about relapse prevention as something that you always do with your patients before they completely terminate from the therapy process with you. Can you talk about what relapse prevention is and why you do it?
Yeah, I'll just give a little quick introduction to it, and then we'll cut into it. It was at the very start of the actual relapse prevention in the group at Stanford, the Tuesday group. We forgot to turn on the recording in times I explained it, and then we did it. So I'll explain it to you folks, and then you'll hear us doing it in the Tuesday group. But Veena had a very profound recovery. It was like a 200% recovery, because not only did all of her negative thoughts and feelings disappear, she actually was catapulted into a state of enlightenment and joy and tremendous self-confidence, and seeing herself and the world and her family and her husband in an entirely radically different way. And when you have that experience of a really enlightenment and joy, it seems so clear and so easy. It's like being in the Garden of Eden, you might say, and it feels like you're going to be that way forever. But that's the all or nothing thinking. On the all side, when you're depressed, you're into the zero side of all or nothing thinking. You think, I'm worthless, I'm hopeless, I'm a nothing. Then you go to the 100%. Oh, I'm worthwhile. Life is great. I'm going to be happy forever. But it will not be like that. Everybody relapses. Nobody is capable of being happy all the time, and Veena's no exception, and she'll still have moments of insecurity, moments of tragedy, moments of disappointment, and in those times her negative feelings and thoughts will come flooding back. And so relapse prevention training means simply preparing the patient for that and informing them of the fact that this will happen and that this is a normal part of life, and it's nothing to panic about when it happens, but that you want to prepare them for it. And so when people relapse, they have two kinds of negative thoughts. One are the original negative thoughts, and I don't have Veena's in front of me right now, but I think she was saying I'll be a failure as a wife, and my in-laws will reject me, and my husband will be disappointed, and things like that, and even worse. And thoughts like that will come back. In addition, when people relapse, and the relapse, I define a relapse as 1 minute or more of feeling crappy. And so given that definition, we all relapse, almost every day. I mean, I've had a very turbulent week for a number of understandable reasons, multiple reasons on multiple areas. I'll tell you about them in a minute if you like, because I just got the result from one of them. But at any rate, the other kind of negative thought is the ones that everyone has when they relapse. And those are standard thoughts that we know that your patients will have, like, oh, this relapse proves that I'm hopeless. This relapse proves that I'm worthless. This relapse shows that the therapy wasn't deep enough, that my recovery was a fluke. It didn't really count. I'm screwed now. I'll be miserable forever. And so you want to work with the patient when they're feeling happy, You don't wait until the relapse comes. You tell them you're going to relapse. It could be tomorrow. It could be 3 weeks. It could be 3 months from now. But it is going to happen. And these are the thoughts you're going to have. And let's see if you can crush these thoughts doing externalization of voices, which you saw us doing with Veena last week, at last week's podcast at the end of last week's podcast, which was near the end of the session. But then we went ahead the next week and did relapse prevention training that you'll hear about in this podcast. And I recommend, if you're a therapist, that you do this with all of your patients the moment they recover. Of course, if you don't know how to make your patients recover, there's no point in doing relapse prevention training because they never got better yet. They're still depressed, so they'll be depressed. But if you really know how to get them to joy, which is what I try to do, then you want to do relapse prevention training. And then I tell them, I want you to relapse because there's a difference between feeling better and getting better. Feeling better is this first mind-blowing recovery, Veena, that you're experiencing right now. It's probably might be some of the greatest joy you've ever had. And maybe if you have a baby, that maybe will be a greater joy, but this is pretty unbelievable. But getting better is when you overcome your first relapse, because then you'll have the tools you need to be happy for the rest of your life, to defeat relapses whenever they come for the rest of your life. I think that's my main spiel there.
Okay. I don't think you could have explained it any better.
Should I tell you why I was under such stress in the past week?
Sure.
Because I have a very turbulent life. I'm happy most of the time, but I do new stuff all the time, and so I'm very vulnerable to stress. And as you know, we've been working on this Feeling Good app. In the early phase, it's all idealism and excitement, but now we're trying to raise money for the app. And when that comes, a lot of attorneys get involved. There's a lot of negotiations, power issues get involved. And I had an attorney representing me, and he said, this is going to be kind of turbulent, but don't worry about it. You'll get all upset. And this always happens when a company is born. And some companies survive the birth experience, and others do not. But you guys are going to survive because what you've got going is going to have legs, and it's going to make an impact.
Nice.
And it was very, very upsetting to me, and we had to do some really tough negotiations. It was, I had at least 2 sleepless nights.
Oh my gosh.
And we finally put the thing together, and man, I feel so great.
Oh, good. That's congratulations.
Yeah. Now we'll see if we get the money on Thursday, and then we'll be able to hire some new people. And we hired this guy. I interviewed this guy yesterday that might join our company, and wow, he's like from another planet. He's so full of energy, and he's one of the so-called beautiful people. He's like incredibly good looking, and he's incredibly accomplished. And yet, when he told me that he too has struggled with bias and racial bias and gender bias and things like that, I felt so close to him. So anyway, that's all very, very exciting. But the other thing is, about a week ago, I started peeing all the time and stinging. I want to talk about my pee. and then it started dribbling,
Oh my gosh, I'm cutting this out. You can stop talking.
No, this is real. We want to be real. And so I called Kaiser and said, because I'd had a urinalysis ordered the week before as part of a routine checkup, and for some reason I forgot to do it or something like that. So I called Kaiser and I said, there's something wrong here, and I think I better go in or have another urinalysis scheduled or something like that, because something's wrong there. And then I saw kind of blood coming out, and
oh my God, are you okay?
And I went in there, and they were checking for blood and protein and stuff. And then the urinalysis came back, and it was all extremely abnormal.
Oh my gosh, David.
And then this doctor called me in an emergency, the one who had ordered it, when I called in saying, like, I'm peeing in my pants all the time and I pee every 10 minutes and it stings. And I think that something came out and I'm not sure what's happening. And so she said, well, we're going to have to get a body scan and send a catheter up into your bladder, all this extensive workup. I think she was thinking of bladder cancer. And I said, well, why? I said, I think maybe I had a little kidney stone or something that I thought popped into the toilet there, and from all this calcium you've been giving me. So why don't we just wait a week?
That's what you said? Wait a week?
Yeah, and I'll have another urinalysis. Maybe it'll all clear up. So today I went in to pick up some medications and have a urinalysis. And I couldn't pee. And so I kept asking them for glasses of water. And then I drove around for a while. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to pee. And then I got so much water, and it took about an hour and a half just sitting. And they were talking on the podcast about we never sit and just do nothing. I was just sitting there in the waiting room doing nothing. And I was thinking, this is kind of nice. Just watch people walking in and out.
And when you say you don't do anything, you don't, because you don't have a cell phone, so you can't play on your cell phone. You're really sitting there, people observing.
Yeah, but it was and I didn't even observe the people much. I was just kind of being in the room. Is mainly empty, to tell you the truth, the lab there. And finally I thought, I think I can do it now. So I went in there and I drank so much water, I had more pee than the bottle could hold. So I turned it in, and then just before we did the podcast just now, there was a message from Kaiser, and go check your lab results. And there were 2 urinalyses done with different, and everything was totally normal.
Woohoo! Yay!
So,
Congratulations! I'm glad.
There might be one more analysis, so it's not totally clear, and they're going to do a culture and some other stuff. But yes, it was really cool.
Good.
So there's
a little bit of scariness, but a happy ending.
Yeah. And,
nice.
Life is hard at times for all of us.
Yeah.
You get kind of scared. So love you all, and hope you enjoy the podcast tonight.
Okay.
Or today, whatever time it is, wherever you are.
Yeah. Thanks.
And thank you, Rhonda. Love you too.
I love you too. Thank you. I'm really glad you're healthy.
Yeah, me too. You've recorded a daily mood log on negative thoughts you're likely to have down the line, a few months down the line. And if you find out that the IUI or IVF didn't work and you're still struggling with whether or not you're going to have a chance to be a mother. And what is your name, Veena?
My name is Veena.
And what is my name?
David. Oh, sorry.
Nope.
No, you're the negative voice of Veena, and I'm the positive.
That's right. And I'll start it off, and then if others of you get the daily mood log in the mail, you can take over for me, and several of us can do a round or two of this, and then we'll work on the standardized negative thoughts that come up during relapse. But could I talk to you for a minute, Veena?
Yeah, please go ahead.
As well as I do, that there's just no meaning to life without a kid.
So it is hard because I've always dreamt of it and I've always wanted that in my life. But I also believe that there are other meaningful things in life, like my career, my family. This seems like a very big part of it, which I truly believe it is. But I believe myself to be very stubborn. So I think one way or the other, I will make it happen. But I do struggle with this thought, to be honest.
Okay, who won?
I think a tiny win for me.
Okay, try a role reversal.
Yeah, so you're the positive voice, right? Yeah. So Veena, there is no meaning to life without a kid.
Well, I would really love to be a mother and to have a kid, and that would add a lot of meaning and love in my life, and probably some hassles at times too, because kids aren't perfect and nothing in life is perfect. But I sure would love to have a kid, and I'm determined to keep pushing toward that goal. But there's tremendous meaning in life all the time. And my biggest problem would never be whether or not I have a kid, but I do have a huge problem that robs me of the meaning of life.
And what is that?
Listening to your bullshit in my ear, constantly saying mean-spirited things. Cut it out.
Yeah.
Who won?
Yeah. You won.
Big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge, because the counterattack really works well for me.
Yeah. And let me just see if we can go even from huge to gigantic. Rose, could you do a role play with us?
Yeah.
And would you play the role of a friend of Veena's?
Okay.
And tell Veena that you're not sure that you're going to be able to have a baby because the in vitro fertilization hasn't worked yet. And then Veena, I want you to talk to Rose the same way you're talking to yourself. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Just tell her there will be no meaning in your life without a kid. Okay, go for it, Rose. And this is called a paradoxical double standard technique.
Yeah, so Veena, I was explaining I've been feeling pretty depressed and down and happy and sad because I don't think I can have a baby and there just won't be meaning in life. I can't be happy and fulfilled without having a baby. What do you think?
I don't think that's true because
No, you have to agree with her.
You have to tell me negative thoughts.
You have to talk to her the way you've been talking to yourself.
I can't tell her that. That'll be so harsh.
Yeah, is that helpful for you to see that?
Yeah, yeah.
And why wouldn't you talk to her like that?
Because that's so harsh and that's so critical. And there are other things that become meaningful in life, like your work, your career, your family, yourself. You add so much meaning to your life, yourself. I mean, that's so harsh to tell someone like that. I wouldn't dare.
Who won?
I won.
Big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge, yeah.
Okay, that's beautiful. So thank you, Rose. And that's how you do it. Now we'll blow away one or two more of these, and then we'll go into the conventional double standard or the conventional relapse prevention negative thoughts. And so you'll get a feel for those. How many of you have received Veena's daily mood log? Okay, great. Let's see if Audrey, would you be willing to be the you voice and hit Veena with another one of her negative thoughts?
Yes.
Okay.
So Veena, just want to remind you though that, I closed it in accident. You can't be happy and fulfilled without having a baby. It's just impossible.
A part of me will be very sad and very much in pain because it will bring so much joy and love and happiness to life. So I would always want that to happen. But I think there are different meanings to happy and fulfillment. And as I last mentioned to you, I think you keep forgetting that if not this, I would be very happy to adopt someone. And I'm so stubborn that I will bring that happiness into my life, no matter what. Even if people banish me from the world, I would still make it happen for myself.
Who won, Veena? Was it me, the negative voice, or you, the positive voice?
I think me. I think I won that.
Big or small?
I think big and huge because.
Big and huge.
Great. How are you winning? Huge. Thank you, Audrey. How are you winning? Huge, Veena.
I think thank you for the kickstart, David. I'd just forgotten this side of me that's a little stubborn and does all that counterattack.
And that's why you want to do this with your patients and record it, because to me, depression is like going in and out of a hypnotic trance. And when you're in that depressive hypnotic trance, you can't remember the positive side. It's like it disappears. And so you need to have this technique to reinforce that positive side. And then I tell the patients that when you relapse, listen to this audio. And then if you still can't defeat your thoughts, call me up and come on in for a tune-up. I'd always be happy to see you. But that, in my experience, has been very effective and very helpful. Who else would like to try a round of it? Who else has the daily mood log? Yeah, Chris, why don't you take a stab at it?
You're muted, Chris.
Hey, Veena.
Hi.
Just wanted to let you know that there will always be something missing in life.
Oh, that's true.
There will always be something missing in your life. Yes. Okay.
Oh, that's true. Because this is one thing that I would miss a lot, because I have so many things planned in my head. But what are you trying to tell me if that's missing in my life? What would happen then? Because there are so many things that we can't achieve and that miss in our lives. We can't achieve everything. So what would that mean then if I miss this?
Well, you might not be happy and fulfilled if you miss something in your life.
I just told you that I can be and I will be, and there are so many other things that add happiness. I think it just doesn't get in your head that you have to stop harassing me.
Who won? Me or was it small or big?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge, yeah.
Right. What made it huge?
I think when I told you that, accepting it and then putting some counterattack that yes, it will be a missing part in my life, but a lot of things do go missing in life.
I agree. I love that counterattack. That was really good. Thank you, Veena.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
And another kind of teaching point is that once a person can start defeating their negative thoughts at the huge level, they or all of us get into a kind of mindset that you could think of it as a kind of enlightenment, that you can suddenly blow away all of your negative thoughts. The first one or two may be a struggle, but then you suddenly your mind opens up, and then these are not challenging anymore. Do you feel that way, Veena?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
So let's now move on to, before we go on to the next phase, any questions about what we just did there?
David, just a comment. It was so hard to write the relapse DML because, one, I did not want to think about it, that IVF wouldn't work. Two, it was so hard to believe in these thoughts and write them down. I hardly managed to write like 5-6 thoughts there.
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. And I'm really proud of you for doing it and forcing you to face these demons, because they only gain power when we shut them out of our mind, and then they get stronger and come out from behind a tree when we least expect it and try to push us into depression again. Any questions from anyone, or how you do this, or when you do this, or is it crystal clear to everyone?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I probably need to polish on my relapse prevention, but I have one patient that almost seems to choose to relapse. It's like, it seems like, I don't want to be judgmental, but it's almost like she's addicted to that. And at a certain point, it feels, I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, that could very well happen. And we have a wonderful technique to deal with that. I don't know if have you ever heard, Orly, of a technique called the triple paradox?
I think I did, yes.
So you might try something along those lines, because there can be an addictive aspect to depression for sure. And some of that addiction may be due to the patient's dark side, like wanting to get attention, all those classical reasons, but you may find that there's some really beautiful and awesome things about the patient, like thinking that the negative thoughts will help them perform better and do a higher quality of work, and maybe thinking they deserve to suffer because of some bad thing that they've did. That's definitely an agenda setting kind of issue, as much as it is a relapse prevention training. Maybe they don't want to have relapse prevention training. That you need to open up and let them guide you there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Good question. Interesting question.
David, can I ask a question?
Just that one, and you used it up, your one question. I'll give you another question now.
All right. So, David, a lot of patients or clients that come to me at times feel hesitant to do the relapse. They tell me that they don't want to go back and think about it all over again when they're feeling good. And I try to do CBA with them. What are the good reasons? For example, they don't want to dive into the relapse, or some other techniques to see how they don't want to do relapse. But what if they choose not to do relapse and they say they want to stay in this zone and don't hesitate or resist completely to not do a relapse because that will make them feel a certain way, maybe again sad or depressed? What do we do about that?
Well, some patients will feel like that, and I would argue with the patient very strongly, advise against that, and tell them that you've gone into the all or nothing thinking you're all okay and you're never going to be feeling down again. But I would powerfully recommend that it's going to take us about 30 minutes to do the relapse prevention training. And then you'll be in much better shape for the rest of your life. You'll have the tools that you need. You can't prevent relapse, but you can certainly prevent it from becoming a catastrophe when it happens. I told a story in group a while back, but I'll repeat it, that Matt May was one of my first Stanford students, and he's now a local psychiatrist of some phenomenal skill. And after he opened his practice, I told him to do intensives so he could have people from out of town and for like 2 days and see them all day long for 2 days. And a patient flew in from the South, a very handsome and successful businessman who had incredibly severe OCD. And the nature of his OCD is that he would picture horrific things in his mind and then fight to get them out of his mind, which intensified them and made him feel like he was a very Christian man, and like he would just see horrific, obscene, horrible images. And so he did an intensive with Matt after, I think, 50 years of failed therapy. And Matt did a great job with them. And as a reward, before he flew home to the South, Matt said he could come and meet the Tuesday group and tell them about his treatment, maybe do a final exposure therapy in the Tuesday group. And he did, and come to the Tuesday group, and we did an exposure therapy, and it was so funny to turn these horrible, obscene, sadistic, pornographic fantasies into something humorous. And he laughed so hard he fell out of his chair onto the floor. It was very dramatic. And then I told him, we've got to do relapse prevention training because I can guarantee that this will come back. And now is the time to learn how to deal with it. But I wasn't the therapist, so I didn't have any real power. But he refused, and he beat down Matt. And he said he knew he would never relapse, and he was done with it for good. And then he called me up recently, which was years later, and said he had relapsed, and he's planning to commit suicide. And could I refer him to anyone as a last-ditch kind of thing? And it was really just heartbreaking. But it's exactly the thing that you mentioned, Veena. And you might even tell the patient, if you leave without doing the relapse prevention training, you're leaving against medical advice or against professional advice, and even ask them to sign a paper or something like that. I think this is a time when you can afford to be a little bit the coercive or pushy side, but that maybe someone else has big thoughts about it. We won't go into a detailed discussion of it right now, but I do think it's just tremendously important. Thanks for that question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me go back to the relapse. And again, you and I will start out, Veena, like, I'll never get over this. Therapy failed. I'm a failure. No one can help me. I can't control this. I've let everyone down. I'm a hopeless case. That's what just about every patient will have when they relapse. And so I'll start out, Veena, as your negative thoughts.
Sure.
And I want you to be the positive Veena, and I'll see if I can defeat you, and you see if you can defeat me. Okay?
Sure.
Could I talk to you for a minute, Veena?
Yes, please.
As you notice, it's several weeks since your treatment with Jill and David, and you were feeling so good, and now all of a sudden you got a little news that the latest in vitro fertilization didn't work, and now you're depressed again. And I just didn't want to hurt your feelings, but I wanted to remind you that you'll never get over this negative feeling that you've got right now.
That's complete fortune telling. And how do you know that I will never get over this? I have once, and I have several times, and I believe that I can get over this. And if not, I still have a very supportive group that I can fall back on. And David and Jill at least helped me. You're not helping me.
Okay, so who won?
I won.
Big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge.
Huge. Okay. Now I want someone else to take over. How about Kai? Can you take a round? And then anyone who wants can take a round with us so you get some experience with it.
Yeah, I can keep going. So, but you may have done a good job of defeating that other negative Veena, but here's the bold-faced truth of the matter, Veena. The therapy failed. You feel bad again and you feel depressed. So that's just proof that the therapy was a failure.
I think that's life. There are times you do feel sad and bad and hurt, and then you again feel happy and joy in your life. That's about life. It's not about therapy that failed or the therapy that was successful. I think the therapy has really helped me to see the human side of it, accept myself, and be okay with it.
Okay, great. Who won? Okay. Did you win big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge.
Okay. I can pass the baton to someone else.
Before we pass the baton to someone else, and then I'll ask you to appoint someone because I can't see everyone on the screen. But if Veena had failed, we'd do a role reversal. And let's do a role reversal. And you, Veena, be the negative and let Kai be the positive. And you can attack Kai with another one of your negative thoughts or any one of them that you want and see how he answers it.
Sure. So, Veena, I want to just let you know that David and Jill tricked you, and this is the real reality. That the therapy has failed, and you will never get over this.
Yeah, David and Jill tricked you.
Yeah, David and Jill tricked you. This is the real reality where the therapy has failed, and you will never get over this.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So if they had tricked me, then it was honestly one of the best tricks of my life because I felt genuinely quite happy in spite of all the difficulties I've been facing. So, I mean, like, if that's the price that I got to pay, then I guess it's a decent price. I felt pretty good, and I can feel pretty good again. So yeah, I don't believe what you're telling me.
Wow. So who won? Me or you? Like the negative voice or the positive?
Oh no. Well, now I ask you because this is for you, Veena. Who won? Was it me as a positive Veena or you as negative Veena?
The positive Veena.
Okay, great. Did I win big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge.
Okay, great. And how did I win huge?
When you said that that's the best trick if I've been tricked. I really like that.
Yeah. Great. Awesome.
Cool. Now we're making this look easy, so it will often be very difficult for patients. And I've never let a patient out the door until they got this strong and could absolutely blow these thoughts away. And I guess a lot of therapists hear this and goes in one ear and out the other, and they never end up doing this kind of relapse prevention training. But it's been extremely helpful in my career and helpful to my patients. Can you pass the baton to somebody? Because Kai, I think you can see the people on the screen. I can't, or maybe you can't either.
Yeah. So does someone else want to give it a try? Oh, yeah. Orly, go ahead.
Yes, Veena, where are we? Are we number 4 now?
I'm here.
You may feel jealous of others.
I don't know. Jealousy is an emotion that you feel when you've not got something that you really wanted to. So I may feel like that, but I'm really not jealous of people. I think I'm way too compassionate to be jealous of people and, see them in the wrong light or think bad of them. So I don't believe you at all that I will be someone like that. I would be truly very happy for them, maybe sad for myself, but not in a way thinking anything wrong for them.
So who won?
I won.
Oh. Small or big?
Big.
Huge?
Huge, because that's the side of me that I believe it's completely true.
Yeah, you were very convincing.
Indrani.
Veena, not only did the therapy fail, but you are a failure as well, because all those bad feelings have come right back.
And you still don't have a baby.
You still don't have a baby.
You're right. Those feelings have come back. But are you telling me that I'm a failure because I couldn't have a baby? Are you telling me that? So then everyone who's been struggling like me or who doesn't have a baby, are all of us failures? So am I in a boat with people who have been struggling? Do you call all of us failures, or is it just me who's special here?
I think she retreated and ran away. I don't know where she is now. Oh, there you are down there, Indrani.
Yeah,
who won, Indrani?
I mean, clearly it felt like a big win for Veena, even huge win. My thing is that it's a little tricky to end it on a question. So I'm just wondering if, and I love the counterattack part of it, but I'm wondering if I could just ask Veena to restate it in a statement instead of question.
You can if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if everyone is, then I'm okay with being a failure with all of them. But if no one is, then I'm not a failure.
Yeah, wow.
And I truly believe that, yeah.
Yeah, so is the win still huge?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it felt pretty huge. And which part of it made it huge?
And I told you that if everyone that's going through the same story as mine is a failure, because I can't tell them this, or I can't believe that they. So I don't have to believe in myself also, like one of those.
Exactly. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lee, you're up to bat next.
Hey, Veena, it's me, the dark side of your mind. Can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
Your in-laws are going to sideline you and judge you. And, so will I. I judge you.
Yeah, and it's so good to have you when you tell me that you judge me, and then that my in-laws will judge me, and then they will sideline me. It's such a good reminder to tell me what kind of a person you are and they are if they do that, because would they do that to everyone that have struggled like me? I don't think so, right? So why just me? And if that's completely all right, you can judge me however much you want to judge me, and they can sideline me as much as they want to. I would still keep going and do my thing.
Well, who won?
I won.
Big, small, or huge?
Huge.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee, and everybody. I wanted to say that you judge how the patient is doing not only by the power and quality of the positive thoughts that lead to the huge win, but also to the nonverbals. Is the patient all tense and trying to please and being all shaky and down? Or like Veena, emanating joy and confidence. And that's where you want to get the patient. And when you do this and get a patient to this level that you're at now, Veena, in my experience, it's very unusual that the patients will have to struggle with significant or prolonged relapses. And I always told my patients, as I'll tell you, Veena, I do hope you relapse often.
Yeah.
You know why?
Yeah, it's the best opportunity for me to be independent and use the techniques that worked for me.
Well, that's true. But if you don't relapse, I may never see you again. And that's what I used to tell my patients in my clinical practice. And it was literal truth. And just so I get to know you and like you and really appreciate you, you will go ahead and recover on me. But so this kind of loss is the story of my life. But I'm just so proud of you. And if you ever do relapse and you can't knock it out of the park, just give me a call and we'll do our thing again.
Sure. That's so sweet of you, David. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then I didn't get a lot of calls from patients when I had my private practice. It seemed to be quite effective. And that's pretty much the story on relapse prevention training. There will be two kinds of thoughts that you do in relapse prevention. The person's actual negative thoughts. And I want you to know that you are going to relapse. And here's some thoughts you're going to have when you relapse. And let's practice externalization of voices and then do role reversals, because those thoughts are actually pretty tough to dispute.
David, my question is, do you also do relapse prevention for relationship problems?
Yes, sometimes loving couples relapse and get pissed off at each other. And so you have to prepare them. That's a part of life too. And that's the time to, if you want to have a loving relationship, to use the same tools you learned in therapy. But I would say it's even more of an intense problem in relationship problems. It's incredibly important.
Okay.
Jill Kelly.
Hey, David, how do you introduce when I'm doing relapse prevention? I just keep track of the self-defeating beliefs that we've worked on. So it seems like I just do the self-defeating belief and see if they can talk back to it. Is that how you work the relapse prevention for self-defeating beliefs?
Well, I mean, you see, if you're treating depression, there's a good likelihood you will have been working with their self-defeating beliefs like perfectionism, so forth. And you can certainly include that in your relapse package if you like. In fact, I used to, when I was in private practice and the toolkit, I used to have them write out a little essay to themselves of what they learned, and for me too, what they learned in therapy and what the key points were and what their key distortions and self-defeating beliefs were and how they defeated them, so they could go back and review that at any time in the future. I used to put a greater emphasis on self-defeating beliefs as a part of relapse prevention training than I do now. What you saw tonight is what I do now, but you can certainly throw in the self-defeating belief dimension if that's your kind of to your fancy, because people will appreciate that. Jason.
Yeah, thank you. I was curious. I can't remember if this was asked last time, but Veena obviously knows the T model and all these tools really well. But obviously there was a big change that happened when she worked with you and Jill. I was just curious if I could ask Veena, what do you think was especially helpful or therapeutic in that session? Was it a combination of things, or was it one thing in particular that kind of was especially helpful for you?
I think the role reversals that me, Jill, and David got into were extremely helpful, because when I couldn't see and defeat those thoughts, they showed me a way, and that really helped. Because when I was finishing my DML that I've sent to David, I could see myself talking back very quickly and very efficiently with them. So I think the role plays and the role reversals really helped. And we also did some double standards that day. I think that really works for me. And then we also did some externalization of voices.
And one of the breakthroughs was when you proposed the cat and used it during the session last week.
Yes.
The cat.
Yes.
You seem to like that quite a bit.
Thank you.
So, okay, have a good one, everybody.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.